close your eyes and imagine the space between waking and sleeping, that gentle threshold where thoughts begin to drift and reality softens around the edges. In that liminal state, something ancient stirs within you, a connection to the dreamers who came before, stretching back through thousands of years of human consciousness. Every night, across the globe, billions of minds enter this mysterious realm, journeying through landscapes of the subconscious that have fascinated, terrified, and inspired humanity since we first gathered around fires to tell our stories. What if these nightly visions that we so often dismiss as mere mental noise actually represent one of humanity's most enduring and universal experiences? For thousands of years, across every culture and civilization, dreams have been regarded as portals, messages, prophecies, and pathways to deeper understanding. In this journey through the night, we'll explore how our ancestors interpreted these nocturnal visits, how those interpretations shaped civilizations, and what the collective wisdom of ages might teach us about the mystery that unfolds behind our closed eyes each night. You're welcome to let these words wash over you, to drift in and out of attention, and perhaps to discover that the greatest gift of this exploration is the permission it gives you to surrender completely to your own journey into dreamland. So settle in, breathe deeply, and allow yourself to be carried across centuries of dream wisdom, knowing that each word is designed not to keep you awake with excitement, but to lull you into the peaceful acceptance that has guided dreamers through the ages. The earliest recorded dream interpretations come to us from the cradle of civilization, ancient Mesopotamia, where the Babylonians and Sumerians carved their dream wisdom into clay tablets over 4,000 years ago. These ancient peoples believed that dreams were messages from the gods, direct communications that could foretell the future, warn of danger, or provide divine guidance. The Babylonian king Gudea, who ruled around 2100 BCE, recorded a particularly vivid dream in which a monstrous figure appeared, presenting him with a divine blueprint for a temple. Upon awakening, Gudea consulted his priests and dream interpreters, who helped him understand that the dream was a literal instruction from the god Ningirsu, demanding the construction of a magnificent temple in his honor. This interpretation led to one of the most ambitious building projects of its time, demonstrating how seriously these ancient civilizations took their nocturnal visions. The Sumerians, even earlier, had developed complex systems for categorizing different types of dreams, distinguishing between true dreams sent by the gods and false dreams which they believed came from demons. They practiced incubation rituals, sleeping in sacred temples specifically to receive divine guidance through dreams, a practice that would spread throughout the ancient world. These early dream interpreters created detailed manuals, such as the Ishkar Zakik, which listed hundreds of dream symbols and their potential meanings, believing that decoding these divine messages required specialized knowledge passed down through generations of temple priests. Moving westward along the Mediterranean, we encounter the ancient Egyptians, who elevated dream interpretation to an art form that was intimately woven into their religious and cultural life. The Egyptians believed that dreams offered a direct channel to communicate with the gods and the dead, providing insights that were unavailable during waking hours. They constructed specialized dream beds within temple complexes, where supplicants would sleep in hopes of receiving healing or guidance from deities like Serapis, who was particularly associated with dream oracles. The famous Dream Book of Tiel, discovered among the treasures of the Egyptian Museum in Cairo, contains over 200 dream interpretations, covering everything from common occurrences like seeing oneself drinking warm beer, interpreted as meaning something good would happen, to more disturbing visions, like having one's face turn into a leopard, signifying that the dreamer would become an outcast. What's remarkable about these Egyptian dream manuals is their systematic approach. They classified dreams into categories such as good dreams and bad dreams, and even identified specific times of night when particularly significant dreams might occur. The Egyptians also practiced dream incubation as a form of healing, with people traveling great distances to sleep in temples associated with the god Imhotep, believing that dreams received in these sacred spaces held special power to cure physical ailments. This tradition of temple-based dream incubation would later influence Greek and Roman practices, showing how dream wisdom flowed along with trade routes and cultural exchanges throughout the ancient world. In ancient Greece, dreams evolved from being primarily divine messages to also becoming subjects of philosophical inquiry and early psychological interpretation. The Greek word for dream, oneiros, gave rise to the concept of oneiromancy, or dream divination, which was practiced by specialized interpreters known as oneiropoloi. Perhaps the most famous Greek dreamer was Alexander the Great, whose conquests were allegedly guided by dream visions. Before his invasion of Persia, Alexander dreamed of a satyr dancing on his shield, an image that his soothsayers interpreted as meaning Thersus bearing, indicating victory in Asia. These interpretations weren't just superstition. They were carefully considered elements of military and political strategy, demonstrating how deeply dreams were integrated into decision-making at the highest levels of power. The Greeks also began developing more nuanced theories about what dreams actually were. Aristotle, writing in his treatise on dreams, proposed that dreams were not divine messages but rather mental impressions left by external stimuli, acting on a person's sensory experiences during waking hours. He suggested that dreams might be the mind's way of processing residual images and sensations, a remarkably prescient theory that anticipates modern neurological understandings. Yet even as rational philosophers offered naturalistic explanations, the Greek world maintained strong beliefs in prophetic dreams, particularly those that occurred in sacred spaces like the temple of Asclepius at Epidaurus, where the sick would sleep in hopes of receiving healing visions from the god of medicine. The philosopher Heraclitus went so far as to suggest that the world we experience in our dreams might be just as real as our waking reality, a philosophical puzzle that would intrigue thinkers for millennia to come. As we continue our journey through dream history, we arrive in ancient Rome, where Greek and Egyptian dream traditions merged and evolved into something distinctly Roman. The Romans were pragmatic people, but they were also deeply superstitious, and this combination led to some fascinating approaches to dream interpretation. The Emperor Augustus famously published and distributed his dreams to the Roman people, understanding their power to shape public opinion and demonstrate his special relationship with the gods. Perhaps the most comprehensive Roman work on dreams comes from Artemidorus, a professional dream interpreter who lived in the 2nd century CE. His 5-volume work, Oneirocritica, or The Interpretation of Dreams, is the most extensive ancient dream manual that has survived to the present day. Artemidorus distinguished between 2 types of dreams: insomnium, which he considered to be ordinary dreams, dealing with current affairs and everyday concerns, and somnium, which he believed were prophetic visions, requiring special interpretation. What made Artemidorus's approach particularly sophisticated was his insistence that dream interpretation must be highly individualized. He argued that the same symbol could mean different things for different people, depending on their religion, age, gender, social status, occupation, and current circumstances. For example, dreaming of losing teeth might signify the death of a relative for a common person, but for a politician, it might indicate the loss of political power or influence. This personalized approach to dream analysis was revolutionary for its time and laid groundwork for modern psychological theories about the subjective nature of dream symbolism. The Romans also developed specific rituals for incubating significant dreams, including fasting, prayer, and the use of special herbs before sleeping in temples dedicated to Fortuna, the goddess of fortune and fate. Across the vast expanse of the ancient world, these Mediterranean traditions found their counterparts in distant cultures, each developing unique approaches to understanding the mysterious realm of dreams, while often arriving at surprisingly similar conclusions about their significance and power. As we turn our gaze eastward, we encounter a rich tapestry of dream traditions that developed independently, yet share remarkable commonalities with their Western counterparts. In ancient China, dreams were regarded as both spiritual phenomena and reflections of the body's internal state, an understanding that emerged from the holistic philosophy of traditional Chinese medicine. The Chinese concept of Han and Po, two types of souls that constituted a person's spiritual essence, played a crucial role in their dream theories. The Han was believed to leave the body during sleep and travel to other realms, bringing back visions and experiences that appeared as dreams, while the Po remained with the physical body, processing emotions and daily experiences. This dualistic understanding allowed for a sophisticated classification of dream types that included visitation dreams from ancestors, prophetic dreams about the future, and diagnostic dreams that revealed imbalances in the body's energy systems. The Yellow Emperor's Classic of Internal Medicine, a foundational text of Chinese medicine dating back over 2,000 years, contains detailed discussions of how dreams can indicate specific health conditions. For instance, dreaming of great fires might indicate excessive yang energy, while dreams of drowning or cold water could suggest yin deficiency. These diagnostic applications of dream analysis continue in traditional Chinese medicine to this day, demonstrating the enduring practical value of these ancient insights. The Chinese also developed the practice of dream journeys, where trained practitioners would consciously direct their dreaming consciousness to visit specific locations, communicate with spiritual beings, or receive teachings from enlightened masters. This sophisticated understanding of conscious dream manipulation predates modern lucid dreaming techniques by millennia and speaks to the advanced psychological knowledge embedded in Eastern dream traditions. Moving further east, we arrive in India, where dreams have been woven into the fabric of spiritual and philosophical traditions for thousands of years. In Hindu philosophy, dreams occupy a fascinating intermediate position between the waking state, Jagrat, and deep dreamless sleep, Sushupti, representing one of the four primary states of consciousness described in the Mandukya Upanishad, one of the most ancient and revered texts of Hindu philosophy. This Upanishad identifies the fourth state as Turiya, a transcendent consciousness that encompasses and goes beyond the other three states. According to this understanding, dreams are not mere mental noise, but a legitimate state of consciousness with its own reality and purpose. The god Vishnu, particularly in his aspect as the preserver and maintainer of cosmic order, was believed to communicate with devotees through dreams, often providing guidance or revealing hidden knowledge. The famous text known as the Swapna Shastra, or dream science, attributed to the sage Devi Bhatta, contains detailed classifications of different dream types and their interpretations, much like the Western dream manuals we've explored. However, the Indian approach is particularly notable for its psychological sophistication. It distinguishes between dreams that reflect past experiences, those that process current desires and fears, and those that glimpse possible future events. The tradition of yoga, which has gained worldwide popularity, developed specific techniques for working with dreams, including practices for recalling dreams more clearly, methods for interpreting them symbolically, and advanced techniques for maintaining awareness while dreaming, a state they called swapandarshan, or witnessing in dreams. Buddhist traditions, which emerged from the same Indian spiritual soil, developed their own unique perspectives on dreams. Early Buddhist texts describe how the Buddha himself used dreams as opportunities for teaching and transformation, often interpreting the dreams of his disciples to help them understand their own minds more deeply. Tibetan Buddhism, in particular, developed elaborate dream yoga practices, viewing dreams as opportunities for spiritual development and preparation for the death process. These sophisticated traditions recognize that the malleable nature of dream reality makes it an ideal training ground for understanding the constructed nature of all experience. In Japan, dream traditions evolved from Chinese and Korean influences, while developing distinctly Japanese characteristics. The concept of yuma, or dreams, in Japanese culture is intimately connected with Shinto beliefs about kami, spirits or gods, who could communicate with humans through dream visits. The famous tale of Genji, often called the world's first novel, contains numerous dream sequences that reveal characters' inner states and foreshadow future events. Japanese culture developed the unique practice of creating dream pillows, or yumemakura, small wooden pillows that were believed to protect sleepers from nightmares while facilitating pleasant dreams. These pillows often contained special herbs or prayers written on paper scrolls, reflecting the Japanese understanding that dreams could be influenced by physical as well as spiritual means. Perhaps the most distinctive Japanese dream tradition is the first dream of the year, or hatsuyume, a practice where the first dream after New Year's was carefully interpreted as an omen for the coming year. Certain elements in this first dream, such as Mount Fuji, hawks, or eggplants, were considered particularly auspicious, reflecting a complex symbolic language that had developed over centuries. The Japanese also developed a form of dream incubation, where people would visit temples dedicated to specific dream-related deities, sleeping there with the hope of receiving guidance or healing. This practice shows how the universal human desire to find meaning in dreams manifested through different cultural frameworks, while serving similar psychological and spiritual needs across diverse societies. As we continue our exploration of dream traditions, we find ourselves drawn to the indigenous cultures of the Americas, Australia, and Africa, where dreams have often played an even more central role in maintaining the social and spiritual fabric of communities. In Native American traditions, particularly among the Lakota, Iroquois, and Navajo peoples, dreams were regarded as direct communications from the spirit world. often carrying messages of personal guidance, community warning, or healing instruction. The vision quest, a rite of passage practiced by many indigenous nations, involved spending days or weeks alone in nature, often fasting and praying, with the explicit goal of receiving a dream or vision that would reveal one's life purpose and spiritual guardians. These dreams weren't considered merely personal experiences, but were understood to benefit the entire community, often containing teachings or warnings that needed to be shared with tribal elders or medicine people for proper interpretation and application. The Iroquois False Face Society, a healing society within the Iroquois Confederacy, believed that its members received their healing knowledge through specific dreams, and dream experiences could qualify individuals for initiation into these sacred societies. The concept of the dream catcher, which has become commercialized in Western culture, originated with the Ojibwe people as a sacred object designed to filter dreams, allowing only positive visions to reach the sleeper, while trapping negative dreams in its web. This understanding of dreams as energies that could be physically influenced or filtered reflects a profound integration of the spiritual and material worlds that characterizes many indigenous approaches to consciousness. Crossing the Pacific to Australia, we encounter Aboriginal Dreamtime traditions that represent perhaps one of the most sophisticated and ancient understandings of the relationship between dreams, reality, and creation. The Aboriginal concept of the dreaming, or dreamtime, transcends Western categories of dream, myth, and reality. It refers simultaneously to the time of creation, when ancestral beings shaped the landscape, the ongoing spiritual dimension that underlies physical reality, and the personal dream experiences that connect individuals to this eternal realm. For Aboriginal peoples, dreams are not escape from reality, but a deeper engagement with its true nature, a means of accessing the eternal dreamtime that exists alongside and within ordinary time. This understanding is reflected in their complex oral traditions, where stories of the dreamtime describe how rivers were carved, mountains formed, and social laws established by ancestral beings who continue to exist in the spiritual realm. These stories aren't considered myths in the Western sense, but as living truths that are re-experienced and revalidated through personal dreams, particularly during ceremonies and initiations. Aboriginal healers, often called clever men or women, were believed to travel in their dreams, to consult with ancestral spirits, diagnose illnesses, and receive instructions for healing practices. The Australian continent itself was understood as a map of the dreamtime, with each physical feature corresponding to events and journeys of the ancestral beings, a relationship that was constantly reaffirmed and renewed through the dreaming experiences of community members. In Africa, particularly among the Yoruba people of Nigeria and the Zulu of South Africa, dreams served as vital links between the visible and invisible worlds, often functioning as channels for ancestral communication and divine intervention. The Yoruba religion, which has influenced spiritual traditions throughout the African diaspora, includes the Orisha, or spirits who act as intermediaries between humans and the Supreme Being. These Orisha frequently communicate through dreams, providing guidance, warnings, or blessings to devotees. Yoruba diviners, known as Babalawos, were trained not only in casting the sacred palm nuts used in Ifa divination, but also in interpreting dream symbols and visitations. Dreams in Yoruba tradition could serve multiple purposes. They might carry messages from deceased relatives, reveal spiritual attacks requiring protective measures, or indicate the need for specific offerings or rituals. Similarly, Zulu traditions emphasize the importance of dreams as communications from ancestors. Amadlozi, who continued to play an active role in the lives of their descendants. Zulu dream specialists, often called Isangoma, would interpret dreams for community members, providing guidance on everything from health issues to social conflicts. What's particularly striking about African dream traditions is their practical orientation. Dreams weren't merely contemplated for their symbolic meaning, but were understood to require concrete action, whether in the form of rituals, offerings, lifestyle changes, or community interventions. This integration of dream experience into daily life demonstrates how intimately woven these visions were into the social and spiritual fabric of these cultures. As we reflect on these diverse indigenous dream traditions, we're struck by both their cultural specificity and their common threads across continents and centuries. Humans have consistently recognized dreams as portals to deeper wisdom, channels for communication with spiritual realms, and sources of practical guidance for living. These perspectives, developed in isolation from each other, speak to something universal in the human experience of dreaming that transcends cultural boundaries and historical periods. The great religious traditions of the world have each developed sophisticated approaches to understanding and working with dreams, often incorporating them into their core theological frameworks while adapting them to serve their unique spiritual purposes. In the Judeo-Christian tradition, dreams appear throughout sacred texts as divine communications that shape the course of religious history. The Hebrew Bible contains numerous significant dream narratives that serve as turning points in the relationship between God and humanity. Perhaps the most famous dreamer in biblical tradition is Joseph, whose ability to interpret dreams not only saved Egypt from famine, but also preserved the nascent Israelite nation. Joseph's own dreams, particularly those in which sheaves of wheat and stars bow to him, initially created family conflict but ultimately foreshadowed his rise to power and the fulfillment of divine purpose. This biblical narrative establishes several key principles about dreams in Judeo-Christian thought: that God can communicate through dreams, that dreams require proper interpretation, and that divine dreams often serve a greater redemptive purpose beyond individual benefit. The Book of Daniel continues this theme of divine dream interpretation, with Daniel's ability to understand King Nebuchadnezzar's dreams, demonstrating his unique spiritual insight and God's favor. What's particularly interesting about these biblical dream narratives is how they distinguish between ordinary dreams and divine dreams, a distinction that would become increasingly important as religious thought developed. The Psalms and prophetic books often refer to dreams more skeptically, warning against false dreams that lead people astray from true worship. This tension between dreams as potential divine revelation and as possible spiritual deception would shape Christian approaches to dreams throughout history, creating a complex relationship that fluctuated between acceptance and suspicion. In early Christianity, this ambivalence toward dreams intensified as church fathers worked to establish orthodox boundaries for spiritual experience. On one hand, Christianity inherited from Judaism the understanding that God could and did communicate through dreams. The New Testament includes several significant dream episodes, such as Joseph's dreams reassuring him about Mary's virginity, the dreams of the Magi warning them not to return to Herod, and Pilate's wife's dream about her husband's involvement in Jesus' death. These dreams serve crucial narrative functions in the Gospels, suggesting that divine guidance through dreams continued even in the Christian era. However, early Christian writers also developed increasing suspicion toward dreams, viewing them as potential channels for demonic deception, particularly in the context of pagan religious practices that heavily relied on dream incubation and interpretation. Augustine of Hippo, writing in the 4th and 5th centuries, articulated this tension perfectly. He acknowledged that dreams could be divine revelations, but also warned that most dreams were simply psychological reflections of daily concerns and desires, or worse, demonic deceptions. This cautious approach would influence Christian attitudes toward dreams for over a millennium, creating a tradition where dreams were accepted in principle, but treated with considerable suspicion in practice. The medieval period saw the development of dream classification systems that attempted to distinguish between different types of dreams based on their source and reliability, with some theologians identifying up to 5 categories ranging from divine revelation to demonic illusion. This sophisticated taxonomy reflects the ongoing struggle within Christianity to reconcile the undeniable presence of dreams in sacred texts with concerns about spiritual deception and the rise of rational thought. In Islamic tradition, dreams occupy a unique and highly honored position as one of the 46 parts of prophethood. According to a saying of the Prophet Muhammad, this elevated status for dreams emerges from the Islamic understanding that revelation ceased with the death of Muhammad, but divine guidance continues through certain channels, with dreams being particularly significant. The Quran itself contains several references to dreams, most notably in the story of Yusuf, which receives extended treatment in Islamic scripture. Unlike the biblical account, the Quranic narrative places greater emphasis on Joseph's prophetic abilities, and specifically on the interpretation of dreams as a divine gift. Islamic tradition developed a sophisticated understanding of different types of dreams, distinguishing between true dreams, ruya, which are believed to be communications from God, false dreams, which come from Satan or one's own desires, and confusing dreams that require interpretation. Islamic scholars created extensive dream manuals that drew upon both prophetic traditions and pre-Islamic Arab dream interpretation methods, creating a rich syncretic tradition that honored both divine revelation and cultural wisdom. The Sufi mystics within Islam developed particularly sophisticated approaches to dreams, viewing them as opportunities for spiritual advancement and direct experience of divine presence. Sufi practitioners would often deliberately cultivate dream awareness through specific practices of prayer, meditation, and ethical living, believing that purity of heart would lead to clearer and more significant dreams. This understanding of dreams as potential spiritual gifts continues in Muslim cultures today, with many believers treating significant dreams as seriously as waking religious experiences, sometimes even allowing dreams to influence major life decisions about marriage, career, or migration. Buddhist approaches to dreams reflect the tradition's emphasis on understanding the nature of consciousness and liberation from suffering. The Buddha himself, according to traditional accounts, experienced significant dreams at key moments in his spiritual journey before his birth. His mother dreamed of a white elephant entering her side, interpreted as a sign of a great being's conception, and on the night of his enlightenment, the Buddha reportedly overcame various temptations and illusions that appeared in both waking and dreaming states. This Early recognition of dreams as significant spiritual experiences developed into sophisticated Buddhist understandings of dream consciousness as a field for practice and transformation. Tibetan Buddhism, in particular, developed elaborate dream yoga practices that view dreams as opportunities for recognizing the illusory nature of all experience, including waking reality. These advanced practices, typically undertaken by experienced practitioners, involve maintaining awareness while dreaming and consciously transforming dream content to understand how perception creates reality. The famous text, The Tibetan Yogas of Dream and Sleep, by Tenzin Wangyal Rinpoche, explains how dream practice can help dissolve fear, overcome habitual patterns, and recognize the clear, luminous nature of consciousness that underlies all experience. In Zen Buddhism, dreams are sometimes used as koans, paradoxical problems used to interrupt conceptual thinking and promote direct insight. The famous Zen story about a master being asked whether he dreams or not, and responding that he dreams when he sleeps, reflects the Zen understanding that awakened consciousness is continuous, whether in waking or sleeping states. This perspective on dreams as training grounds for recognizing the nature of mind represents one of the most sophisticated psychological approaches to dream work ever developed. These religious traditions, despite their different theological frameworks, share a common recognition of dreams as somehow special or different from ordinary mental activity, whether as divine communication, spiritual practice, or psychological revelation. This shared understanding across diverse faiths suggests something universal in the human experience of dreams that transcends particular religious doctrines while being adapted to serve each tradition's unique spiritual needs and theological concerns. The scientific revolution, beginning in the 17th century, brought profound changes to how Western culture understood dreams, shifting from supernatural to natural explanations and laying groundwork for modern psychological theories. René Descartes, often called the father of modern philosophy, experienced what might be the most historically significant dream in Western thought. A series of 3 dreams on the night of the 10th of November 1619 that he interpreted as a divine sign directing him toward the development of a new scientific method. In these dreams, Descartes encountered various symbolic elements, including a melon, a book of poetry, a dictionary, and a storm, which he later interpreted as representing the unity of philosophy and science. What makes these dreams particularly important to our story is not just their influence on Descartes' thinking, but how they represent the transitional moment when supernatural dream interpretation began giving way to naturalistic explanations. Descartes himself initially treated these dreams as potentially divine signs, but his philosophical work would eventually help establish a framework for understanding consciousness, including dream consciousness as a natural phenomenon subject to scientific investigation. His famous statement, "I think, therefore I am," emerged from his method of radical doubt, which included doubting the reliability of his senses and even his waking experiences, since he couldn't always clearly distinguish between waking and dreaming states. This philosophical inquiry into the nature of dream reality would influence centuries of Western thought about consciousness and the relationship between mind and world. As the scientific revolution progressed, Enlightenment thinkers increasingly sought natural explanations for phenomena previously attributed to supernatural causes. The Scottish physician David Hartley writing in the 18th century, proposed one of the earliest comprehensive psychological theories of dreaming, suggesting that dreams resulted from the brain's processing of residual vibrations from sensory experiences during waking hours. Hartley's theory, while mechanistic by today's standards, represented a significant shift toward understanding dreams as natural psychological processes rather than supernatural communications. Similarly, the German philosopher Immanuel Kant viewed dreams as a play of the internal sense, recognizing their subjective nature while dismissing their objective reliability as sources of knowledge about the external world. This philosophical skepticism toward dream content would characterize much of 19th century thinking about dreams, even as romantic poets and artists continued to find inspiration in dream imagery and symbolism. The tension between these two perspectives, the romantic fascination with dreams as windows into deeper truths and the scientific dismissal of dreams as meaningless byproducts of brain activity, would shape Western approaches to dreams. Through the Victorian era and into the early 20th century, the true revolution in understanding dreams came with the development of psychoanalysis at the turn of the 20th century, particularly through the work of Sigmund Freud, who famously called dreams the royal road to the unconscious. Freud's groundbreaking 1900 work, The Interpretation of Dreams, completely transformed how Western culture thought about these nightly experiences, suggesting that dreams were not random mental noise, but meaningful expressions of repressed wishes and conflicts. According to Freud's theory, dreams consisted of manifest content, the actual images and narrative of the dream as remembered and latent content, the hidden psychological meaning that required interpretation to uncover. He proposed that dreams employed symbolic displacement and condensation to disguise forbidden or threatening thoughts from conscious awareness, allowing the dreamer to sleep without being disturbed by these disturbing contents. Freud's approach was revolutionary, not just because it offered a new explanation for why we dream, but because it introduced the idea that dreams could be systematically analyzed using scientific methods to reveal hidden psychological truths. His technique of free association, having patients say whatever came to mind in response to dream elements, became a cornerstone of psychoanalytic practice and demonstrated how dreams could serve as diagnostic tools for understanding individual psychology. Freud's case studies, like that of the wolf man who dreamed of white wolves sitting in a tree, showed how dream analysis could reveal childhood traumas and unconscious conflicts that influenced adult behavior. While many of Freud's specific theories have been modified or rejected by subsequent research, his fundamental insight that dreams reflect individual psychology and contain meaningful patterns continues to influence how we think about dreams today. Carl Jung, initially Freud's collaborator and later his theoretical opponent, developed an alternative approach to dreams that broadened their significance beyond individual psychology to include collective and spiritual dimensions. Jung agreed with Freud that dreams were meaningful, but disagreed about their function and interpretation. Where Freud saw dreams primarily as expressions of repressed individual wishes, Jung viewed them as spontaneous expressions of the psyche's natural self-regulation process, compensating for one-sided attitudes in conscious personality and promoting psychological wholeness. Jung's most distinctive contribution was his concept of the collective unconscious, a layer of the psyche containing universal patterns and images inherited from our ancestral past. These archetypal patterns appeared in dreams as symbolic images that transcended individual experience. Figures like the wise old man, the divine child, the shadow, or the animus. Jung's approach to dream interpretation was less rigidly systematic than Freud's, emphasizing the personal significance of symbols while also recognizing their universal, archetypal dimensions. He developed a method called amplification, where dream symbols would be explored through mythology, religion, art, and cultural traditions to reveal their deeper meanings. Jung also had particular interest in what he called big dreams, profound, archetypal dream experiences that often occurred at turning points in a person's life and seemed to reflect spiritual concerns beyond personal psychology. These experiences could include encounters with divine figures, journeys to other realms, or awareness of past lives, elements that traditional psychology might dismiss as fantasy, but Jung regarded as potentially genuine spiritual experiences. This more expansive understanding of dreams allowed Jung to bridge the gap between scientific psychology and religious experience, suggesting that both traditional dream interpretation and modern psychology might be approaching the same phenomenon from different perspectives. As psychoanalytic ideas filtered into popular culture throughout the 20th century, they transformed how ordinary people thought about their dreams, introducing the possibility that these nightly experiences might contain meaningful insights about personal psychology. Books teaching dream interpretation techniques became bestsellers, and dream analysis became a common feature of popular magazines and advice columns. This democratization of dream knowledge represented a significant shift from earlier eras when dream interpretation was the exclusive domain of specialized priests, shamans, or psychoanalysts. The development of humanistic psychology in the mid-20th century, with figures like Fritz Perls and Gestalt therapy approaches to dreams, continued this trend toward empowering individuals to find their own meanings in dream experiences rather than relying on expert interpretation. This psychological revolution in understanding dreams laid groundwork for the even more dramatic changes that would come with the development of modern neuroscience and sleep research in the latter half of the 20th century. The mid-20th century witnessed another revolution in dream understanding with the discovery of REM, rapid eye movement, sleep, and the development of modern sleep research, marking the beginning of the scientific investigation of dreaming as a biological phenomenon. The breakthrough came in 1953 when University of Chicago researchers Eugene Aserinsky and Nathaniel Kleitman observed that sleeping subjects periodically exhibited rapid eye movements beneath their closed eyelids, accompanied by increased brain activity and faster breathing. When researchers woke subjects during these REM periods, they found that people were dramatically more likely to recall vivid dreams compared to when awakened during non-REM sleep. This discovery established REM sleep as the physiological correlate of dreaming, opening the door to systematic scientific investigation of what had previously been the exclusive domain of psychology and spirituality. Kleitman and his student William Dement would go on to establish the first sleep laboratory, pioneering techniques for monitoring sleep stages through electroencephalography, EEG, recordings of brainwaves, electrooculography, for eye movements, and electromyography, EMG, for muscle activity. These methods allowed researchers to map the architecture of sleep, discovering that humans typically pass through 4 to 6 sleep cycles per night, with each cycle containing several stages of non-REM sleep, followed by a period of REM sleep that gradually lengthens across the night, with the longest and most intense REM periods occurring in the early morning hours. This scientific investigation of sleep and dreaming revealed fascinating details about the neurobiology of dreams that both supported and challenged earlier theories. Researchers found that during REM sleep, the brain becomes highly active, sometimes more active than during waking consciousness, while the body remains essentially paralyzed, except for eye movements and minor muscle twitches. This paralysis, controlled by neurotransmitters that inhibit motor neurons, prevents us from physically acting out our dreams, which could be dangerous given the vivid nature of dream experiences. The discovery that the brainstem, particularly the pons region, generates REM sleep suggested that dreaming might have an important biological function rather than being merely a byproduct of sleep. The activation synthesis theory proposed by Harvard researchers J. Allen Hobson and Robert McCauley in 1977 suggested that dreams result from the brain's attempt to make sense of random neural signals generated by the brainstem during REM sleep. According to this theory, the forebrain creates stories and narratives to explain these spontaneous activations, resulting in the often bizarre and seemingly meaningful quality of dream experiences. This neurobiological explanation represented a significant challenge to psychological theories that emphasized dreams' meaningful content, suggesting instead that dream meaning might be constructed after the fact rather than reflecting genuine psychological processes. The development of increasingly sophisticated brain imaging technologies in the late 20th and early 21st centuries has allowed researchers to observe brain activity during dreaming with unprecedented precision, revealing a complex picture that integrates neurological and psychological perspectives. Functional magnetic resonance imaging, PHI studies, have shown that during REM sleep, certain brain regions become highly active, while others go quiet, creating a specific pattern of brain activity that correlates with dream experiences. The limbic system, particularly the amygdala and hippocampus, shows increased activity during REM sleep, which may explain why dreams are often emotionally charged and involve memory processing. Meanwhile, the prefrontal cortex, particularly regions associated with logical reasoning and self-awareness, shows decreased activity, which might account for the bizarre, illogical nature of dream narratives and our typically uncritical acceptance of impossible events within dreams. This neurological evidence supports what psychologists had observed about dreams, that they're typically emotional, memory-related, and creatively associative rather than logically structured, but provides a biological mechanism for these characteristics. Modern sleep research has also revealed that dreaming occurs not just during REM sleep but throughout the sleep cycle. Though REM dreams tend to be more vivid, narrative, and emotionally intense, while non-REM dreams are often more thought-like and less bizarre. This finding has complicated the simple equation between REM sleep and dreaming that characterized early sleep research, leading to more nuanced understandings of different types of dream experiences across the sleep cycle. The discovery that certain medications affect dream content and recall, such as antidepressants that often suppress REM sleep and consequently reduce dream intensity, has provided further evidence for the biological basis of dreaming. Meanwhile, studies of brain injury, patients who lose the ability to dream after damage to specific brain regions, have helped identify the neural networks necessary for dream generation. One particularly fascinating case study involved a patient who experienced a complete cessation of dreaming after suffering a stroke in a specific area of the occipital lobe. despite otherwise normal cognitive functioning and sleep patterns. This case suggests that dreaming requires specific neural networks that are not identical to those necessary for general consciousness or sleep processes. The development of lucid dreaming research has represented one of the most exciting frontiers in modern sleep science, bridging subjective experience with objective investigation. Lucid dreams in which the dreamer becomes aware that they are dreaming while still remaining in the dream state, were once considered impossible by many researchers, but have now been extensively documented in laboratory settings. Stephen LaBerge, a psychophysiologist who founded the Lucidity Institute in the 1980 seconds, pioneered techniques for inducing lucid dreams and developed methods for dreamers to signal researchers from within dreams using prearranged eye movement patterns. These signals, recorded on EOG monitors, provided objective verification that lucid dreamers could indeed communicate from within dream states to external observers. This breakthrough opened up new possibilities for studying consciousness itself, allowing researchers to observe brain activity during moments when dreamers recognized they were dreaming and deliberately manipulated dream content. Studies have found that lucid dreams are associated with increased activity in the prefrontal cortex compared to non-lucid dreams, suggesting that higher-order self-awareness requires activation of brain regions that are typically quiet during REM sleep. This finding has important implications for understanding consciousness and the relationship between brain states and subjective experience. The modern investigation of dreams has also revealed their potential clinical applications beyond the traditional psychoanalytic approaches. Researchers have found that certain dream characteristics can serve as early indicators of neurological diseases like Parkinson's, which often begins with changes in sleep and dream behavior, years before more obvious motor symptoms appear. Nightmares, particularly those related to trauma, have become an important focus of clinical research, with techniques like image rehearsal therapy proving effective for reducing nightmare frequency and intensity in conditions like PTSD. The recognition that dreams serve important emotional regulation functions has led to the development of therapeutic approaches that work with dream content to promote psychological healing. Meanwhile, the popularity of dream tracking apps and online dream databases has created new opportunities for large-scale research on dream content across cultures and populations, potentially revealing patterns in collective dreaming that might correlate with social or environmental factors. As our understanding of dreams has evolved from supernatural messages to neurological phenomena, we've discovered that the truth may be more complex than either. Extreme dreams appear to be both biologically determined experiences and psychologically meaningful events, serving functions that we're only beginning to understand through the integrated approaches of modern sleep science. This evolving understanding continues to bridge ancient wisdom with cutting-edge neuroscience, suggesting that the mysterious nature of dreams may ultimately reflect the mysterious nature of consciousness itself. In our contemporary world, dreams have undergone another transformation, moving from the realms of religion, philosophy, and psychology into popular culture and personal development, while simultaneously becoming the subject of increasingly sophisticated scientific investigation. The digital age has created new ways of engaging with dreams, from smartphone applications designed to improve dream recall to online communities where people share and interpret each other's nightly adventures. This democratization of dream work represents the culmination of a long historical process that has gradually moved dream interpretation from exclusive domains of priests, shamans, and psychoanalysts into the hands of ordinary people seeking personal insight and connection. Dream journaling, once recommended primarily by psychoanalysts and spiritual teachers, has become a widespread practice facilitated by digital tools that make recording dreams easier than ever before. Apps like Shadow, Dreamboard, and Dream Journal Ultimate allow users to record their dreams immediately upon waking. Using voice recognition, search through previous dream entries for patterns, and even receive AI-generated interpretations based on symbolic databases. These technological tools represent a fascinating convergence of ancient practices and modern convenience, preserving the age-old belief that dreams contain valuable information, while updating the methods for accessing and analyzing that information for the digital era. The wellness industry has embraced dreams as another frontier for personal development and healing, with dream retreats, workshops, and certification programs becoming increasingly popular. These programs often blend insights from various traditions: psychological, spiritual, and scientific, creating hybrid approaches to dream work that reflect our eclectic contemporary approach to spirituality and self-improvement. Techniques for lucid dreaming, once practiced primarily by Tibetan Buddhist monks and researchers, have become mainstream self-development tools, with online courses teaching methods for increasing dream awareness, controlling dream content, and using dreams for creative problem solving. The popularity of these techniques reflects a broader cultural trend toward optimizing and controlling aspects of life that were previously accepted as beyond conscious influence. Lucid dreaming apps use gentle sounds or vibrations during REM sleep to prompt awareness without fully awakening the sleeper, while specialized masks like the Remi Lucid Dreaming Mask use LED lights to create dream signals that might trigger lucidity. These technological approaches to consciousness exploration would have seemed like science fiction to earlier generations, yet they represent the natural extension of humanity's long-standing fascination with controlling and understanding dream experiences. Therapeutic approaches to dreams have evolved significantly from early psychoanalytic models, with contemporary therapists often viewing dreams as opportunities for integration and healing rather than just interpretation. Image rehearsal therapy, developed for treating trauma-related nightmares, involves having patients rewrite their disturbing dreams with more positive endings and mentally rehearse these new versions. This approach has proven remarkably effective for reducing nightmare frequency and improving sleep quality in patients with PTSD, demonstrating how working with dream content can create real psychological change. Other contemporary therapies like Gestalt dream work encourage patients to engage directly with dream elements through role play and dialogue, treating dream figures as projections of different aspects of the self. This experiential approach reflects a broader shift in psychotherapy from intellectual interpretation toward embodied experience and integration. Eye movement, desensitization, and reprocessing, EMDR, now widely used for treating trauma, incorporates dream imagery and memories into its processing protocols. Recognizing how these nocturnal experiences can contain crucial material for healing, these therapeutic developments show how modern psychology has moved beyond trying to decode dreams as puzzles to solve, instead viewing them as opportunities for integration and transformation that can be worked with directly rather than just analyzed. Dream research has increasingly recognized the cultural and social dimensions of dreaming, investigating how social factors influence dream content and how dreams might serve collective as well as individual functions. The dreambank.net, an online database created by psychologist William Domhoff at the University of California, Santa Cruz, contains thousands of dream reports collected over decades, allowing researchers to analyze patterns in dream content across different populations and time periods. This research has revealed fascinating findings about how dreams reflect social concerns and cultural preoccupations. Studies have found correlations between dream content and media exposure, with dreams often incorporating elements from recent experiences of television, movies, or news events. Research conducted after traumatic events like 9/11 or natural disasters has found collective changes in dream content across populations, with themes of threat, vulnerability, and helplessness appearing more frequently in dreams following these events. These findings suggest that dreams might serve a social function as well as individual psychological functions, possibly helping communities process shared experiences and anxieties. The recognition of these collective dimensions to dreaming bridges modern scientific research with ancient cultural practices where dreams often serve to warn communities of impending dangers or guide collective decision-making. The relationship between dreams and creativity has become another focus of contemporary research and popular interest, with many artists, writers, and innovators reporting that their best ideas came from dream inspiration. The Beatles' Paul McCartney famously claimed that the melody for Yesterday came to him in a dream, as did the melody for Keith Richards' I Can't Get No Satisfaction. Scientific breakthroughs have also come through dreams. The chemist Auguste Kekule discovered the ring structure of benzene after deafness, dreaming of a snake biting its own tail. And mathematician Henri Poincaré reported solving complex problems through dream insights. Contemporary research into these creative aspects of dreaming has found that REM sleep enhances creative problem-solving abilities, with studies showing that people who sleep after being presented with creative challenges are more likely to find innovative solutions than those who remain awake. This connection between dreams and creativity has led to techniques specifically designed to harness dream potential for artistic and scientific innovation, with some artists deliberately setting intentions before sleep to receive creative solutions to specific problems. The surrealist art movement in the early 20th century, led by figures like Salvador Dali and André Breton, explicitly attempted to capture dream imagery and automatic thought processes in their work, recognizing dreams as sources of authentic creativity free from conscious censorship. The contemporary fascination with dreams has also led to renewed interest in their spiritual and transcendent dimensions, with many people reporting experiences that transcend ordinary psychological explanations. Near-death experiences often include dreamlike elements that challenge purely materialistic understandings of consciousness, with some people reporting encounters with deceased relatives or beings of light that feel more real than ordinary waking experience. Psychedelic-assisted psychotherapy, which has gained increasing legal acceptance and scientific validation in recent years, often produces dreamlike states that participants report as spiritually significant, leading to lasting changes in personality and behavior. Research into these experiences suggests that the brain states during psychedelic sessions share similarities with REM sleep, possibly indicating that these altered states of consciousness access similar neural pathways as dreaming. This convergence of different approaches to consciousness, from dream research to psychedelic studies to meditation neuroscience, suggests that we may be approaching a more integrated understanding of the various dimensions of human experience that transcend ordinary waking awareness. As we stand at this intersection of ancient wisdom and cutting-edge science, personal practice and collective experience, we find ourselves in a unique position regarding dreams. We no longer need to choose between seeing dreams as divine messages and dismissing them as meaningless neural noise. Contemporary understanding allows for a more nuanced appreciation of dreams as complex phenomena that serve biological, psychological, and possibly even spiritual functions. The variety of contemporary approaches to dreams, from neuroscientific research to spiritual practice, from technological enhancement to therapeutic integration, reflects the multifaceted nature of these nightly experiences that continue to fascinate and mystify us despite centuries of investigation. As we draw near the end of our journey through the history and mystery of dreams, we find ourselves contemplating what these nightly adventures ultimately reveal about the human condition. Perhaps the most profound truth about dreams is not whether they predict the future or carry messages from gods, but what they demonstrate about the nature of consciousness itself, that our minds contain dimensions far richer and more mysterious than our ordinary waking experience suggests. Across cultures and centuries, humans have consistently recognized that something special happens when we sleep, that the boundaries between self and world, past and future, reality and imagination become more permeable in these nocturnal journeys. This recognition speaks to a universal human intuition that the world we experience through our senses represents only one layer of reality, that consciousness itself contains depths that dreams allow us to explore, if only temporarily, and often cryptically. The fact that every human culture has developed sophisticated systems for understanding dreams suggests something essential about our nature, that we are meaning-making creatures who instinctively search for patterns and significance in our experiences, even when those experiences occur beyond our conscious control. The various approaches to dreams we've explored, religious, psychological, scientific, cultural, each capture different facets of a phenomenon that continues to resist complete explanation. The spiritual traditions recognize that dreams can connect us to something beyond ordinary experience, whether we conceptualize that as gods, ancestors, or deeper aspects of ourselves. The psychological approaches showed us that dreams reflect our individual concerns, fears, and desires in ways that can illuminate our inner landscape and promote healing. The scientific investigations revealed the biological mechanisms that make dreaming possible and suggested important functions for emotional regulation, memory consolidation, and creative problem-solving. The cultural perspectives demonstrated how dreams serve social functions, helping communities process collective experiences and maintain shared values. Each of these perspectives is true in its own way, and the mystery of dreams may ultimately lie in how they simultaneously reflect and transcend all these dimensions of human experience. What's perhaps most remarkable is how dreams have maintained their mysterious quality despite thousands of years of investigation. We can measure brain waves during REM sleep and identify the neural networks involved in dream generation. Yet we still can't explain why dreams take the specific forms they do for each individual, or how dream experiences can sometimes seem to contain information that goes beyond what could be constructed from our waking experiences. We can map the architecture of sleep and understand its biological functions, yet we still don't know exactly how or why consciousness transforms so dramatically during these nightly transitions from waking to sleeping reality. This persistent mystery may be one of dreams' greatest gifts. It reminds us that despite all our scientific knowledge and technological advancement, human consciousness still contains dimensions that elude our complete understanding and control. The respect that virtually all human cultures have shown toward dreams suggests something important about their value. Whether viewed as divine communications, psychological insights, or biological processes, dreams have consistently been regarded as significant experiences, deserving attention and careful consideration. This cross-cultural recognition of dream importance might reflect an intuitive understanding that something essential to our well-being occurs during these nightly journeys, whether that's emotional processing, creative problem-solving, spiritual connection, or simply the mind's natural effort to make sense of its own activity. The modern tendency to dismiss dreams as irrelevant mental noise might represent a significant loss of wisdom that previous generations preserved through their careful attention to these experiences. Perhaps the greatest gift of our exploration of dream traditions is the reminder that there are multiple ways of knowing and experiencing the world beyond the rational, analytical modes that dominate contemporary Western culture. The dream traditions we've encountered show us that wisdom can come through intuition, symbol, and metaphor, as well as through logical analysis. They remind us that human experience contains dimensions that can't be adequately captured by numbers or measurements, that some truths must be approached indirectly, through stories, images, and personal experience rather than through direct observation or experimental verification. In a world increasingly dominated by scientific rationalism, these ancient and diverse approaches to dreams offer a complementary way of understanding that honors the mystery and complexity of consciousness. As you drift toward your own dream journey tonight, perhaps you can carry with you this appreciation for the rich history of human engagement with these nightly adventures. Your dreams are part of a continuum that stretches back to the earliest humans who gathered around fires to share their nocturnal visions, that connects you to dreamers across every culture and historical period who have similarly wondered at the mysterious landscapes that unfold behind closed eyes. Whatever your particular beliefs about what dreams are or what they mean, you can approach them with the respect and curiosity that characterize the most sophisticated dream traditions, recognizing them as experiences that have something to teach us, even if that teaching comes through the indirect language of symbol, metaphor, and feeling rather than through direct messages. The invitation tonight is not to analyze or understand your dreams, not to seek specific guidance or insight, but simply to trust in the wisdom of the process that has supported human consciousness across millennia. The same intelligence that governs your breathing and heartbeat also guides your dreaming, creating exactly the experiences you need, whether those are comforting adventures, challenging confrontations, or completely mysterious journeys beyond your comprehension. Your task is not to control or direct this process, but to surrender to it with confidence, allowing your consciousness to move through its necessary cycles of integration and exploration. As you settle into sleep, you can honor this ancient continuity of human dream experience by letting go of the modern tendency to understand everything immediately and completely. Instead, you can trust in the mystery, allowing your dreams to unfold according to their own wisdom, knowing that whatever experiences they bring have their own purpose, even if that purpose isn't immediately apparent. This trust in the process represents a form of wisdom that's deeply embedded in all the dream traditions we've explored, a recognition that some aspects of consciousness operate beyond our conscious understanding and control, and that this isn't a limitation but a gift that allows for experiences and insights that would be impossible within the constraints of waking awareness. So as you drift deeper into the welcoming embrace of sleep tonight, know that you're participating in one of humanity's oldest and most universal experiences. The dreams that await you are unique to you, yet they're also part of this vast tapestry of human dream experience that stretches across time and culture. In surrendering to your dreams, you're connecting to something ancient and fundamental about what it means to be human, a consciousness that contains mysteries beyond its own understanding, capable of creating entire worlds of experience each night, worlds that reflect and transform our waking reality in ways we're only beginning to comprehend. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the history and mystery of dreams. May your own dream journeys be peaceful, insightful, and healing, and may you wake tomorrow refreshed and renewed by whatever adventures your consciousness has created during the night. Sleep well.